Hey guys, and welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to be discussing the continuity issues within the MCU, so let's shake off the confusion as we jump into this Marvel news. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and stay up to date with all the movie news we have going on around here. James Gunn reveals a major problem with Marvel's post-Endgame MCU timeline. In the wake of Avengers Endgame, the MCU timeline has only been more confusing, and director James Gunn may have revealed exactly why. So this article here comes from ScreenRant.com, guys. So, director James Gunn appears to have revealed why the timeline for the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become more confusing in the wake of 2019's Avengers Endgame. Over the last 15 years, Marvel Studio has created the most expansive and successful superhero movie franchise ever. And while it has been great to watch the stories of the Marvel comics unfold in live action, this comes with its fair share of issues. Most significantly, there have often been confusion about when certain projects take place in the MCU's timeline, which was only exacerbated by the major time jump in Avengers Endgame, but it may have been revealed that there are deeper problems behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. Yeah, guys, I mean, even for myself as a casual Marvel fan, I do find myself getting confused sometimes with different projects. It's like a different project comes out on Disney Plus, and I find myself having to go online and do a bit of homework. Like, when does this streaming show take place? What events take place and what timelines, and it does get a bit confusing. That's the one major downfall with the shared cinematic universe, is the fact that when it gets to a certain point, it becomes so convoluted that the casual audience get really kind of confused as to when different events are taking place and sort of the continuity of the whole cinematic universe. So, during an exchange on Threads, Guardian of the Galaxy director James Gunn, co-CEO of DC Studios, was asked whether DC Studios has an in-house timeline keeper overseeing the continuity of the DC universe. After noting that the entire team is taking charge to make sure the timeline is clear, Gunn mentioned that, quote, "If that's a position at Marvel, I do not know who that person is," noting that he's never discussed anything with them. It could have been assumed that Marvel Studios does have a timeline keeper, as they would ensure that the massive franchise keeps to its continuity, but Gunn's comments suggest this isn't the case. Read Gunn's full response below. So James Gunn goes on to say, quote, "Me and the rest of the team, if that's a position at Marvel, I do not know who that person is. I have never discussed anything with them. But I guess that's why I think that Volume 3 is now, and everyone keeps saying 2030 or something. I already thought I was pushing the limits of Grandpa still being alive." So it's quite worrying that James Gunn, obviously he's worked over at Marvel for a long period of time doing the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he's come out saying that there seems to be no person in charge of the continuity aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He didn't speak to anybody who seems to be keeping the cinematic universe cohesive and together and making sure that everything flows as one overarching narrative. And that could be the problem that we're seeing with the latest phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, post-Endgame, it's been kind of all over the place. There's been no defining kind of narrative, or nobody, one character has been in charge like they were in the earlier parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But anyways, so why Marvel's post-Endgame MCU timeline is so confusing. Yeah, even for myself, guys, like I said, a streaming show comes out or a movie comes out and I have to kind of Google, when does this take place? Who's in it? Where does this character come from? Who's this? Who's that? And for myself, even I get a bit confused. So the fact that James Gunn never spoke to a timeline keeper at Marvel Studios suggests the position doesn't exist, as he worked with the company for almost a decade and over at least 4 projects between 2014's Guardian of the Galaxy and 2023's Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3. Though this could also be because he worked on a more self-contained series. That said, if there's nobody keeping track of the MCU's timeline at Marvel Studios, this could explain the issues that have arisen over the years. Most notably, this includes the confusing 8 years later title card in Spider-Man Homecoming, the mention of Lady Thor in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, before Jane Foster wields Mjolnir. I can't say that right. Before Jane Foster wields Mjolnir, and a disputed amount of time between Phase 1's projects. So, Marvel Studios' timeline problems were only heightened in the wake of Avengers Endgame, as the MCU took a time jump 5 years into the future. This meant that the majority of 2009's Endgame was actually set in 2023, and the current continuity of the MCU seems to be taking place in 2025 to 2026, though this is still unclear. Whereas pre-Endgame projects mostly took place in the years which they were released, this has become almost impossible to follow in the post-Endgame MCU. The new official timeline book for the Marvel Cinematic Universe may clear up some of these moments, but Gunn's comments potentially shed light on why they need further explanation in the first place. Yeah, this is the thing, guys. When you get to a certain point, they did it in the comics. You get to a certain point where a shared overarching narrative from loads of different comics or loads of different individual projects, it becomes so convoluted that the casual audience cannot keep up with what's going on. So you have to sort of smash it all back down, soft reboot it, or just, completely reboot it altogether. And there has been murmurings over the last few months saying about the potential for the MCU to do a reboot, whether it's a soft reboot or a hard reboot, because it's coming to the point now where it's getting really, really convoluted and the audience are beginning to struggle to keep up with what's going on, not to mention the decline in quality as well. But yeah, guys, so that's all the movie news we have for today. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and I'd love to hear what you have to say, so jump in the comment section before you go, and I will see you soon.